Hello and welcome to Defense Dynamics. I am Danveer Singh coming to you from New Delhi. Tonight, a battlefield in transformation. From jet-powered drones that can strike across continents, to the Indian Navy's high-speed missile vessels powered by advanced systems, and collapse of US-Iran talks in Islamabad as the region edges closer to a wider conflict. Technology is accelerating, diplomacy is struggling, and the balance is shifting. This and much more on Defense Dynamics, but first, the global defense headlines. India delivered the first batch of BrahMos missiles produced in Lucknow to the Indian Army, announced by Defense Minister Mr. Rajnath Singh. The Indo-Russian joint project boosts indigenous defense capability and global arms positioning. It supports Make in India by reducing foreign dependence and strengthening domestic industry. Defense Production Secretary Sanjeev Kumar inaugurated Prachand LCH assembly line at Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in Tumkuru. The facility includes advanced systems and will produce LCH and LUH helicopters. It will also support future programs like IMRH and DBMRH, boosting India's helicopter manufacturing capability. Zupa Geo-Navigation Technologies delivered over 500 indigenous Ajit drones to the Indian Army in 3 months. The drones cleared STQC certification, confirming operational readiness for secure battlefield deployment. The company highlighted the importance of cyber-secure systems amid rising drone warfare threats. South Korea unveiled its first production medium-altitude UAV under the DARPA-led program with 90% localization. Developed with multiple firms, the reconnaissance UAV will enter Republic of Korea Air Force service from year 2027 after trials in 2026. It marks a step forward towards unmanned manned integration operations and real-time surveillance capability. Russian firm LaserBuzz increases laser-directed energy weapon range to 1.5 kilometers. The system can detect and engage UAVs flying up to 140 kilometers per hour and is integrated with radar. It uses a fiber optical laser capable of extreme heat with upgrades planned for countering FPV drones. The future of warfare is evolving faster than the imagination. Not by fighter jets, not by missiles, but by AI and drones. Drones of the size of a matchbox that can sneak through holes and windows to a size of a jetliner that can fly across continents. Imagine an unmanned system that can travel 10,000 to 20,000 kilometers and strike deep inside enemy territory and return or loiter undetected for hours before hitting its target. They are powered by reactive engines. This next generation of drones could blur the lines between a cruise missile and an aircraft. This is not a science fiction anymore. The evolution of drones is entering a new phase, from slow propeller-driven systems to jet-powered, unmanned platforms capable of intercontinental reach. These drones use reactive engines, essentially jet engines, allowing them to fly faster, higher, and much farther than conventional UAVs. Unlike traditional drones that operate within a few hundred kilometers, these platforms are designed for strategic depth strikes targeting assets thousands of kilometers away. What are reactive engines? At the heart of this new generation of long-range drones lies a critical technology, the reactive engine. Simply put, a reactive engine is what we commonly call a jet engine. It works on a very basic principle of physics, action and reaction. Air is pulled in, compressed, mixed with fuel, ignited and then expelled at extremely high speeds. This high-speed exhaust pushes the engine and the aircraft moves forward. So now let's try and understand how a reactive engine functions, how it works with the help of video wall. So first point over here is intake. The air is sucked in with the help of turbofans. It is thereafter pulled inside the engine and it is compressed. And once the compression takes place, the next stage is combustion. Combustion is carried out inside the engine. Fuel is added and ignited, and then the hot airs move out of the exhaust, which gives propulsion. Now let's understand with the help of a video. We have a video playing. Here we can see the turbofans, and if you look at the turbofans, they are decreasing in size, and at a particular point they are of very small size. This is the place where the compression is taking place, and maximum compression is over here. And hereafter, once the air is totally compressed, then we add ignition to it after adding fuel to the compressed air. So the fuel is being added over here. You can see a fuel is being added to the compressed air, and once that fuel has been added, ignition takes place, and once ignition takes place, the gases expand exponentially, and again with the help of a turbo shaft, they are pushed outside the engine, giving the desired thrust to the jet engine, which propels this reactive engine, and in turn it propels the aircraft at higher speeds. Why it matters for drones? Unlike propeller-driven engines, reactive engines deliver much higher speeds, allow flight at higher altitudes, enable long-range sustained missions, support heavier payloads. This is what makes 10,000 to 20,000 km strike drone possible. They are no longer slow-moving surveillance tools, but fast, high-altitude, long-endurance strike systems. In simple terms, a propeller drone is like a car on a highway. A reactive engine drone is like a jet aircraft in the sky, and the difference is in speed, altitude, and reach. This is what is redefining the modern warfare. So what are these strategic drones? What are the characteristics, or what are we going to achieve by using strategic drones? Let's try and understand with the help of this video wall. As it is indicated over here, they can fly at subsonic speeds and supersonic speeds, and even slower than that if required. They operate at high altitudes, reducing detection, and not only high altitudes, they can actually go at very high altitude, super high altitude, if I may say that. They are having a capability to carry heavier payloads because they are huge, they are big, they have got big strategic reach, they require a bigger payload, and hence they can carry bigger payloads, heavier payloads for longer durations and distances. That is why they are strategic. And lastly, they can function as loitering strike platforms or reusable systems, in a sense that they are over the target and suddenly a decision is taken that we do not require to attack the target, so they can be recalled back. So this is the advantage, and this advantage actually differentiates between a long-range strategic drone as compared to a cruise missile or a ballistic missile. The battlefield is expanding not just in size but in speed and reach. Drones with reactive engines are no longer tactical tools, they are becoming strategic weapons. When a machine that can travel 20,000 kilometers and strike with precision and operate without a human on board, distance stops being a barrier, and in modern warfare, that changes everything. The strategic shift. A 20,000 kilometer range changes the geometry of warfare. It means no target is truly out of reach. Nations can strike without forward bases. Air defenses are stretched across vast distances. Strategic surprise becomes easier to achieve. These drones could penetrate A2AD or anti-access, anti-denial environments, slipping through radars, flying low or high depending on the mission profile. And unlike ballistic missiles, they offer flexibility. They can be recalled, redirected, or retargeted mid-flight. Who is developing them? Major powers are already moving in this direction. The United States with stealth UAV programs and long-range strike concepts, Russia is experimenting with jet-powered unmanned strike platforms, and China is rapidly advancing on high-speed and high-endurance drone technology. Even emerging powers are investing in long-range unmanned combat aerial vehicles or the UCAVs. Implications for India. For India, the shift is both an opportunity and a challenge. With vast strategic spaces from Indian Ocean region to continental threats, long-range drones could provide persistent surveillance across thousands of kilometers, enable deep strike without risking pilots, and strengthen deterrence against adversaries with dispersed assets. But it also means that India must prepare for incoming threats from equally long-range unmanned systems. Air defenses will need to evolve from point defense to network, layered and AI-driven systems. So when we talk about drones traveling across continents, it's not just about autonomy or AI. It's about propulsion. Because in warfare, how far and how fast you can go often decides who wins. So the next time we talk about long-range drones, remember, the real revolution isn't just autonomy. It's the engine that makes that autonomy matter. Because in modern warfare, reach is power, speed is survival, and propulsion is destiny. India's naval strategy is shifting quietly but decisively, not towards bigger ships, but towards faster, more agile, and harder to detect combat platforms. In a major step, Kongsberg Maritime will supply 18 advanced Kameva waterjets to Indian Navy's next generation missile vessels that are being built by Cochin Shipyard Limited. At first glance, it may seem like just another contract, but in reality, it signals a fundamental shift in how India plans to fight at sea. For decades, naval propulsion has followed a familiar pattern. Large propellers spinning beneath the hull, pushing water backwards to move ship forward. Reliable, proven, but limited. Because in modern naval combat, speed is no longer just about reaching the battlefield, it's about surviving in it. And that is where water jets come in. Instead of exposed propellers, water jets operate entirely within the hull. They pull water in, accelerate through an internal impeller, and eject it at high velocity, creating thrust. Thus, no exposed blades, no heavy cavitation, no predictable movement profile. What this delivers is not just speed, but total control. A waterjet powered vessel behaves very differently from a conventional ship. It accelerates faster, turns sharper, and stops quicker. Even shifts direction with remarkable precision. In combat, that translates into something critical: unpredictability. These vessels can approach at high speed, launch their weapons, and exit before an adversary can lock on effectively. And because they generate less noise and wake, they are harder to detect, both acoustically and visibly. In a battlefield dominated by sensors, that matters as much as firepower. The next generation missile vessels are being designed around this very idea, not as traditional warships, but as fast, lethal, and networked strike units. Their role is clear: enter contested waters, deliver precision strikes, and disappear. In regions like the Indian Ocean, where choke points and coastal zones define strategy, such platforms can deny access, overwhelm defenses, and shift the balance of power. This is not blue water dominance, this is high-speed sea denial.
In comparison with conventional propeller systems, the waterjet propulsion system does offer several advantages such as quick acceleration and deceleration, ability to operate in reverse gear, rapid course alteration, high speed, and excellent maneuverability. The biggest one being the capability for silent operation, especially in shallow water, which makes it very useful in anti-submarine warfare, mine countermeasures, search and rescue operations, patrolling, and law enforcement in shallow water. It does suffer from limitations in that endurance is limited. However, it's a very good addition for requirements to meet high speed and shallow water operations.
For India, the advantage is deeply geographical. From shallow coastal belts to island territories like the Andaman and Nicobar chain, operations demand speed, agility, and shallow water capability. Waterjets allow vessels to operate closer to shore with reduced risk of damage and far greater maneuverability in constrained environments. This makes them ideal for coastal defense, rapid interception, and high-speed response missions.
Waterjet propulsion systems in missile vessels provide an excellent option for hit and run strikes. However, as happens in armed forces and in life in general, a new hardware, when coupled with the ability to reinvent and innovate, gives you the flexibility to utilize any equipment or platform in a completely different manner. This allows you to surprise your enemy entirely and achieve extraordinary results, as was demonstrated in 1971 war amply. The high speed capability and the stealth characteristics of these missiles vessels can be utilized to plan an attack from a totally unexpected and different direction. The ships may also be deployed in a dispersed formation and can be ordered to arrive at a particular point, carry out a coordinated attack on the enemy, and move away swiftly and safely from the area.
At the same time, India is not just importing capability, it is building it. Larsen and Toubro is working on developing an advanced maritime system, including propulsion technologies for high-speed vessels. Through shipbuilding, design and engineering integration, India is steadily moving towards indigenous capability in this critical domain. The journey is still underway, but the direction is clear: reduce dependency, build at home, and scale for the future.
It's true that in initial stages, waterjet propulsion systems were imported from abroad, but in the last decade or so, there has been significant improvements in the development of waterjet propulsion technology in our own country. The Larsen and Toubro has successfully demonstrated the design and development of 651 kilowatt waterjet propulsion technology, which is good enough for installation on a small ship, which needs to be taken up for higher ranges. In addition, we need to develop the gearbox required for a complex technology, cavitation resistance, impeller metallurgy, and last but not the least, a large pool of qualified manpower to handle the waterjet propulsion technology and associated systems in our own country, which I am certain that we are capable of doing and achieving in a very short time.
Naval warfare is changing. It is no longer just about the biggest ship or the longest range missile. It's about who can move faster, react quicker, and remain unseen for a longer duration. And in that equation, propulsion is no longer just engineering, it's a strategy. Tensions across West Asia are rising once again. From threats of naval blockades to the risk of wider regional war disrupting global energy and trade, the situation remains volatile. And amidst this, Pakistan has made its first visible military move under a new defense pact. It has deployed fighter jets and military assets to Saudi Arabia. This comes just days after high-level US-Iran talks in Islamabad collapsed. And the implications are far bigger than they may appear. Pakistan has deployed fighter jets and military assets to Saudi Arabia, marking its first operational step under the recently signed Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. The move follows Islamabad's attempt to play mediator, hosting high-level talks between the United States and Iran after weeks of escalating conflict involving Washington, Tel Aviv, and Tehran. But those talks ended without a breakthrough, and now the region is seeing military signaling replace diplomacy. According to the Saudi Ministry of Defense, Pakistani fighter jets and support aircrafts have landed at the King Abdul Aziz Air Base in the kingdom's eastern province. Officially, the deployment is aimed at strengthening joint defense cooperation and enhancing regional security. But the timing is critical. It comes after Iranian strikes on key Saudi energy infrastructure, including the Jubail petrochemical complex. Attacks that have raised fears of wider confrontation across the Gulf. The deployment underscores Islamabad's commitment to its defense pact with Riyadh, signed in September of 2025. The agreement includes collective defense provisions, intelligence sharing, enhanced military coordination. Crucially, it states that an attack on one will be treated as an attack on both. For Pakistan, the partnership brings economic backing and strategic depth. For Saudi Arabia, it brings battle-tested military capability into an increasingly unstable region. This partnership is not new, but it is now entering a more operational phase. Saudi Arabia has supported Pakistan financially, including a $6 billion assistance package in year 2018. But today, the relationship is evolving beyond economics into active military alignment, and that shift comes at a time when region is already on the edge. As tensions continues to build in West Asia, Pakistan's deployment is more than just a bilateral move. It signals hardening of alliances, expanding fault lines, and a region that is preparing for uncertainty. Because when diplomacy fails, it is the deployments that define the next phase, and the balance of power can shift very quickly. What began as confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran is no longer confined to just three actors. Over the past week, the conflict has expanded outwards, drawing in regional powers, testing alliances, and forcing nations to pick sides. The failure of Islamabad talks was not just a diplomatic setback, it was a signal that de-escalation has stalled and alignment has begun. Because in West Asia today, neutrality is becoming increasingly difficult. Two broad axes are now taking shape. On one side, the United States, Israel, and key Sunni Arab states led by Saudi Arabia. On the other side is Iran, Russia, China, and its network of state and non-state partners across the region. This is not a formal alliance structure, but it is a functional coalition system driven by security fears, strategic interests, and a shared perception of threat. The battlefield is no longer defined by geography but by alignment. The most significant shift: new entrants. Pakistan's deployment of fighter jets and troops to Saudi Arabia is not just symbolic, it's structural. It signals that secondary powers are now entering the theater quietly but decisively. Across the region, Gulf states are tightening their military coordination, Israel is expanding its operational reach, and Iran is leveraging asymmetric network. This is no longer a contained conflict, it is becoming a multi-layered, multi-actor confrontation. The big question now is West Asia moving towards a NATO-style alliance system? Not formally, but functionally, yes. We are seeing collective defense thinking, integrated military planning, and shared threat perceptions across borders. The difference is system is not stabilizing the region. It is hardening it because unlike traditional alliances, these blocs are forming in middle of an active conflict. West Asia is crossing a threshold from isolated conflicts to structured confrontation, from rivalries to coalition, and once blocs begin to form, conflicts rarely remain limited. They expand, they deepen, and they become harder to control. The real story no longer is who fired the first shot. The real story is who stands with whom. As the reality of warfare changes, since the technology is accelerating, decisions are compressing, and the margin of error is shrinking. The question is no longer just who has the most power, but the question is who can adapt the fastest in air, at sea, and across the geopolitical chessboard. With this, we come to the end of this episode. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and take care.